regardless of faith, ethnicity, or political affiliation. We once questioned why some citizens may not have had the conviction to act patriotically or put country first. Some of our guests with expert opinion on the matter hinted at the need to change mindset. Mindset to mean the attitudes, emotions, beliefs, or behaviors we have as individuals towards patriotism. It is true that a lot of people that are still inclined to the thought that patriotism belongs to the political class alone, or that the political class is using it to patronize citizens. Others think that patriotism is for the first world, claiming it is where people wave flags with pride, because in such countries maybe there is not as much poverty or hardships like in Uganda. Some people have intimated to us on this show that they cannot be patriotic in a country where some leaders and public servants have not yet considered it seriously to exhibit patriotism. All the thoughts form the mindset we are talking about today. How can such mindset change? What can be done to make people appreciate patriotism? Welcome to the show, Canon Dr. Rebecca Nyegenye, Provost, All Saints Cathedral.
Yes, Cathedral.
It's a cathedral, Kampala.
Kampala, yes.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for creating time to come. Later on, we'll be joined by Brigadier General Felix Kulaije. He will join us in a short while. Canon. Yes. We've been discussing patriotism for about 3 months now or so. And, you know, we're getting interesting perspective about this matter. And many people agree that Ugandans, citizens, have to be patriotic. Each one of us has a role, has a duty. There are duties we have to fulfill, you know, as citizens. Much as the government or the political class or the leaders also have a duty to fulfill. But all of us together, we are citizens. And it is incumbent on us to be patriotic, to be seen to be patriotic. There is talking about it, but then there is acting patriotically. However, there is still a problem of mindset. And today, we want to delve into that challenge and discuss in detail. How can mindset change where we are? How can we make people appreciate the beauty of patriotism? Yes, that's where we are today.
Okay. The mindset, you know, it's just like we are sitting here together with you. And if I didn't have a mind to say I'm going to NTV, it would have been difficult for me to be here. So I must shift my attention from what I'm doing in the office to be able to sit in NTV right now.
And plan for it, actually.
Exactly, and plan for it. And being born in Uganda and being Ugandan, I must shift my mindset to know that I'm actually Ugandan and I love Uganda at whichever level. And I must also determine to say that I'm going to do whatever is best for me to live in my country, Uganda. What has happened in some cases is that someone is Ugandan and their mind is just thinking about moving out of Uganda. Every other time they see something wrong, they want to move outside Uganda. And they are not thinking, if this is going wrong, what can I do? What is my responsibility to make it better? We find it in churches that if this church is not good, I'm going to move in the other church. But how can you make this church better so that you can dwell and stay in this church and make it a church where you love it, and you love it and you love to be in this church and it feels beautiful to be in this church? So that's the same as Uganda. And some people that have never moved out of Uganda sometimes look at Uganda as the worst country, as the country that you don't want to be. But I've always told people that the moment you are traveling from somewhere and you land in Entebbe, you begin to realize how beautiful Uganda is. You admire the green, you admire the beauty, and you get back to admire God's creation. That why is it that God has made Uganda so beautiful and so unique? And so you need to tune yourself to looking at Uganda as my country, as my home, and begin to look at the things that really motivate you to love Uganda. And beginning from the vegetation and the kind of people, the hospitality in Uganda the weather is something that people admire. When people come to Uganda, some people don't want to leave. But then you get disturbed when Ugandans are thinking about leaving Uganda and going outside Uganda. So I think we need to look at Uganda and first of all, look at yourself and set yourself to say, I am going to love Uganda.
And by the way, that group that wishes to move out of Uganda as soon as possible, as soon as yesterday, it is so huge, including young people who have just finished school and probably they do not have hope that they will get something to do in Uganda. And their conversation is, the moment I get opportunity to move out of this country, I am not coming back. And that's the group now that has developed a mindset that has, I will call it negativity. The attitude, the emotions, the beliefs that, you know, you cannot succeed in Uganda unless you know somebody in a given office.
I think that's a mindset that needs to shift. But one of the things that I want us to know, that sometimes when you're driving or in the streets of Kampala or that, you don't see the idleness of people. There are some people who hate Uganda simply because they have not come out to work to suit in the situation of Uganda. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you're going to sit on the street somewhere and you're just idle, you are not even thinking about what can I do for a living? How can I live my life beyond here?
How can
Maybe
I
have a degree. You've just graduated. You cannot volunteer somewhere. You're thinking about someone coming and picking you and taking you to UK. But if you're not hardworking in Uganda, to the extent that someone, even when they give you a job, you are not even making an effort to work hard to be retained in that job.
Even when you migrate and go where? Which city? London, say, for example.
Exactly. You are not going to succeed.
The spirit will be the same.
Exactly. And really, one of the things they have not realized is that sometimes when you go out there, you really have to run from one place to another. And they would bear having to be used out there than living in their country and making their country better. So for me, I think people have, we've come to a point where people need to realize that Uganda is my country. I'm not going to go out where I'm going to really move as a foreigner. I need to make home better. I need to sit home and I need to transform home and make it the best place. Let me give you an example. When you talk about the corruption that we are running away from, who is corrupt? It is me, a Ugandan, who is corrupt. And who is going to get me out of corruption? Until I realize that I have to eat what is mine and not be greedy for what does not belong to me.
I like that.
Yes, until I need to understand that this space must be shared between Rebecca and Frank. You know, you can be there and you say, this space is for Frank alone. Rebecca cannot fit in here. So until we realize that as Ugandans, we can share space and we can sit together without fighting. We can sit together in agreement. We can realize this is the space that God has given us, and we can do things in a way of understanding. Franca is my brother, Rebecca is my sister. How can we be able to work together and make this place better? But if I eat mine and eat yours, now who is going to come and begin to tell me that don't eat what belongs to Frank? I ate it knowing that it belongs to you, but I've decided to take it. So I can't run away from corruption because I'm corruption itself.
So it starts with me, it starts with you to stop this corruption that, you know, features in the media every now and then.
Yes, it starts with me, it starts with you. Because the moment I am in a school, I'm already beginning to think of how I'm going to steal. And by the time I get there, I'm already a thief in the profession. And so I begin stealing as soon as I get there. And the one who is following me thinking, if I also ever get a chance to get there, I'm going to do it.
Maybe you might want to comment about the phenomena as it is now. Because to change mindset, you have got to act in a way that is exemplary. Yeah, if you're talking about patriotism, for example. But if you're a leader, if you're in a public office, and you don't act patriotically, you know, you're the one who takes this, you take the other, you are insulting, you know, that kind of behavior. I see that also as one thing that is demoralizing people and keeping them in that mindset now, which we are struggling to change. Yeah, you've seen in the media.
Yeah.
Officer A has taken this much. Officer this is being corrupt. Officer this is being, you know, all kind of problems.
Frank, I want to say that this whole issue of mindset change needs to really begin from far. You know, there are some people whom you look at and it's going to be very difficult for us to change their mindset because of where they are, and they have been going on with this. And if in Uganda we really want to change their mindsets, some of these things need to begin as far as school. Who trains you in school? And also looking at your family. Where is your family? Where are you coming from? You know, when you live in this family, and this family is training you to love something, you move on loving that particular thing. And when you get into school, someone is training you to love your country. In whatever you do, you're going to have that kind of attitude. I love my country. I want to serve my country. And therefore, when I get into this professional world, into a particular office, I am getting into that office with a mindset of service. And so I stay in this office and I'm thinking about who am I supposed to serve. You know, I set my goals clear. As a person that is going to serve the community, I'm going to serve Ugandans. I want to love Ugandans. I want to make this office a better place so that someone who comes in this office knows that exactly I love what I'm doing. That, you know, when you have this mindset from the beginning, from behind there, the teacher is telling you, you know what? You have to have survival for the fittest. And so you grow up knowing survival for the fittest. What is it? I must struggle. I must get it. And so that kind of mindset, transforming you, it really requires a certain power. And for me as a Christian, I would tell you that you need Christ in your life to transform you to understand. Why am I saying that? In one way or the other, Jesus Christ was a patriotic.
Yes.
When you read like the Gospel of Luke chapter 19, Jesus is going to transform the temple. And as he moves towards the temple and he looks at what is happening in Jerusalem, he begins to weep. And the Bible says he wept over the city. You get that? That is a heart loving your country, loving your people, but being so disgusted with what is happening. And because you're disgusted, Jesus did not say, because Jerusalem is so bad and I have power, I can now just fly to heaven and let the people suffer where they are. He says, no, he wept over the city. And after weeping over the city, he went ahead in Jerusalem, in the temple, and disorganized
he probably thought, now how am I going to start changing these people's mindset?
Yes.
I think that alone made him weep as we read.
He wept because he really saw a mindset which is so conformed to a standard that was not supposed to be there. And for him, what was there was what was not meant for Jerusalem. And I think for me, that is the attitude, the mind that we need to have forward. As I look at, I give an example of the city of Kampala. I look at Kampala and I'm weeping over the city of Kampala. And within me, I'm not saying I'm going to run away from Kampala, but how best can I make Kampala better so that I can live in Kampala and have everybody who lives in Kampala find it a better home for them to live in Kampala.
Be the example of the change that you want to see.
Exactly. I have to be an example. I can't run away from my country, and I have to serve my country. I love my country, but I'm also not selfish about everything that I'm doing. I'm doing it to the best of my ability to make sure that everyone in this country enjoys life in their country, and life is at its best in my country. Running away from Uganda and thinking that I'm going to love Kenya more than Uganda does not actually make anything better for Ugandans. And even like today, many people go to study and others say, I'm going to study, I'll never come back to my country. I think as you go, as you go to study, have this mindset. How can I, even when I'm writing my dissertation out there, my mind is reminding me that I have to write my dissertation in the context of Uganda, because I am coming back to transform Uganda. I don't want to transform the world out there when I cannot find life best at home.
Somebody who lives in the Netherlands, in line of with what you're talking about, did their masters there. And I was asking her, why don't you return? And she told me, in a country where you cannot, cause change, in a country where leaders seem not to care what is going on, in a country where everybody, it's like everyone chose to, live in dirty conditions, if you move along our roads, you see the litter, you see this and that. And for her, she's convinced there's nothing that can change us. She made,
but you have to ask
she made a conclusive choice, stay in Netherlands, and that's it.
Who litters the ground? It's the Ugandans themselves. You are driving and you're eating chicken and you're throwing the bones along the road. You're drinking water in a bottle and you're throwing the bottle along the road.
Plastic is all over now.
Plastic is all over the place. You are in your home and your dustbin there is full of plastic. You can't even burn them. Now, who is it that is doing that? And who is going to come and just collect the rubbish that you're gathering around yourself? So this is the Ugandan who must be able to make their environment look clean. And it's just a mindset change. Because when you live, when you are in a university, sometimes the students leave the lights on. Yes. And they say we are utilizing our tuition. Such a mindset. Now, when you come back to your own home and you have to leave lights on and you have to pay for that electricity, whose money is it? But you picked that mindset from school knowing that, you know what, I'm eating
by the way,
my
the same
tuition.
Mindset is transferred to public goods as well.
Exactly.
A new road, for example, somebody will say, after all, this is my tax, I paid tax.
Exactly.
So why shouldn't I take
exactly.
reflections or anything they can
but
come
there
across
is also
there.
making something so clear that tomorrow you will need to come back and again do the same and get the money. Someone was saying that roads in Uganda, it is the rain that knows which road is better, where they have filled it with soil and where they have filled it with tarmac. So when the rain comes, when you have filled that pothole with soil, it will just sweep it away. But who fills that pothole with soil? It's the Ugandan. You get that? So I think the whole mindset change has to really come. The Ugandans must begin to love Uganda. The Ugandans must learn to do quality and see, this is my country. I am going to do quality. You go and duplicate something and you're selling it to Ugandan. And you're wondering, something comes in, it's real quality. And tomorrow it has lost quality. And then you ask and they tell you, Ugandans have now picked it up. They are making it themselves. If you're making it, why don't you make it quality so that in Uganda you'll have something of better quality? Why don't you even inquire how to make it better? But you make it because you want to make money.
Mindset change. Viewers, you're watching Uganda First. Brigadier General Felix Kaijage, good to see you. Good to have you in studio.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, thank you for creating the time. Yeah. A few days ago, 2 or 3, we spoke to some individuals in northern Uganda specifically about what they think of this whole topic of mindset change towards achieving patriotism. Let's hear them.
The perception people have about look to be something connected with either being a soldier or being in the army. I think you move around schools. Even the uniform for patriotism club it looked that kind of the army fatigue. So many people look at those who are involved in patriotism as being soldiers. So that means the perception in the public have to be changed through government first trying to sensitize and say it is not about being a soldier that make you be patriotic. So from the different schools, the students are trained, and then the student will have the trickle-down effects. The student will now go to the community and be able to explain. So I think there should be that constant sensitization. There should be training of even teachers in the different schools who are supposed to manage. And then there should be regular program that bring people together. Even on a timely basis, you can say, this time we are doing this time we are doing this, so that it is not a one-off activity. I've heard sometime government was coming up with an activity for, let's say, after completing senior 4, after completing senior 6, the students are taken to some camp for training or where they are taught patriotism issues. These are the things that should be done so that somebody know at the end of senior 4, we have this program. Even at the end of P7, when they have just sat within that period of vacation, some 1 week, it is enough for the different regions. So if it is done like that, that becomes a deliberate government effort.
Some of these patriotic duties we do in the school is, whenever there is misunderstanding between some people, we make sure we stop that misunderstanding, and so we also raise the flags, and I have sacrificed to do all what the government needs. I was born in this country, so what made me not to love my country? Yet even my parents and my grandmothers even come from this country.
It was not easy for the start. People was thinking the whole country that this thing is for the Museveni, this NRM. But later on, when we start giving them the key principle of patriotism, now the schools, the students, and all the teachers are now taking up, and all the schools mostly are practicing patriotism. When you talk of the 4 core principles of patriotism, therefore it means that the students themselves know for sure that the patriotism is for the sacrifice, for the love, and for loyalty for the country. Therefore, totally, the old student is now loving the patriotism. More so, being in the uniform of the army and making the drills, that make more the student to be very attractive in patriotism.
Patriotism, I've seen many of our girls joining police force. They are already trained, and they joining the army or prisons. And because of this background, they are taken very fast.
Patriotism in our school is something really important. You know, most people say you cannot be taught how to love, that love is something that is inborn. But I would like to tell the viewers out there that sometimes we don't practice the love, and sometimes you find that people are not conscious or aware that we should show love for our country, that we should do things that show that we
country. And loving one's country does not depend on a profession. It's like loving your mother. It's unconditional love. Unconditional love because of what you attach to your country. And we have been blessed with the most beautiful country in the world. So endowed with good climate, good soils. I mean, everything about Uganda as a country would make you love her. Now, there are 3 factors you can't ignore. One, as a country, we are brought together by force. So, very few people, if any, look at themselves as Ugandans. They regard themselves as Banyankole, Baganda, Acholi, Mumasaba, Amwesamia.
Ethnicity first.
The ethnicity first. Because the growth of the country into nationhood was interrupted by colonialism. Okay? So, the thinking, the notion, a nation starts with the tribe, not Uganda. And I did a survey in 6 universities. Just by asking the front row in every university, Makerere University, KIU, IU, UCU, MUBS, and I was asking each individual, what are you? I'm a Munyankole. What are you? I'm a Muchiga. You? I'm a Muganda. So I asked them, what is a Ugandan? They said, but we are Ugandans. I said, no. So the conceptualization of a country called Uganda is in the constitution, is on the map, is in writing. But in the people's minds, in the conscience,
it doesn't exist.
It's strange. We never grew into a nation. That's why you find, for example, Uganda had reached the level of a nation. Uganda is a nation. And that's why for anybody to say, I'm Uganda and ready to die for it, they are there. But Uganda is a foreign construct. However, we can no longer reverse. We are in this marriage called Uganda.
And it has to exist.
It has to exist. And unfortunately, anybody who wants to dismember it will be an object of my gun. Yes, that one I have no apology about it.
Enemy of the state.
Enemy of the country.
Of the country.
Yes, first. Because the territorial integrity of Uganda is a responsibility of every citizen to preserve. Now, some people have argued, but like Canon was saying, people are doing this, people are doing the other, or the other person was telling you,
yes, the
in the country where nobody cares. It must start with somebody. It must start with me. She was talking about throwing rubbish. I have a trash can in my car. Whatever I have, whether it's tissue or I've drunk water.
You are one among a few.
So when I reach a trash bin, I empty.
Exactly.
Then I bring back. But littering, so we are destroying our own country. These plastics don't allow water to go. They don't allow good sunshine to reach the soil. So wherever you have put a plastic, whether a cavera or a bottle, you have killed that soil. Whose country are you killing? It's not Mr. Museveni's country. It's you and I. So love for one's country starts with us. I remember there was an attempt to teach, when we talked about teaching patriotism in schools. I heard on radio some people saying, can you force anybody to love his mother?
Can you teach somebody to love their country? We had that topic here. It was very interesting.
Yes and no. If this mother did not look after you, you not love her. Even if she carried you for 9 months. But you do not feel her as your parent. Now, elsewhere, in Kenya, they have a national service. In Tanzania, they have a national service. In Rwanda, they have a national service. The objective of this national service is to bring the national construct into the mind of the citizen. That yes, you are Warusimbi, you are meeting a Kuraiji from the west or southwest. You belong to a country called Uganda. And this is what the values we should have. So that takes me next to the value system. When you meet in this national service, what are you teaching your young people? The values of the country. Communities teach their children values. The family values, the clan values, the community values. The do's and the don'ts. Do we have them anymore? No. The other day I asked members of parliament, what is it that a Ugandan would be ready to die for?
Silence.
It's silence. In short, nobody is willing to die for Uganda. So that's why they are putting it UPDF. The mad ones who went into uniform. But love for one's country is an obligation for each individual. That's why they are duties of a citizen in Article 17 of the Constitution. We keep on running around with rights. Human rights go along with responsibilities. So the starting point, in my humble view, the mindset that we must change starts with the parents. Appreciating our roles as parents. That I have a duty to give responsible citizens to this country as a father. That she has a duty as a mother to bring responsible citizens to the country. That's number one. Goes to school. Because the next level of teaching, of molding a person's brain, is in the school. A scholar said, give me children between 0 and 7 and I'll give you the next generation. Because those first 7 years of a child are the years of cognitive development, the development of the brain.
Whatever they are learning sticks.
So that's why it's important that she said, the way you act in your home, the way you act wherever you are passing, children are learning. Rarely do they pick from what you say. They pick from what you are doing. So the first 7 years, which are with the parent and the teachers in lower primary, are very critical. That's why it was not easy to become a lower primary school teacher.
Back then.
I have never forgotten my P1 teacher. Teacher made a natural, I can't forget her.
In Masaka.
What time do you think I was in P1? 1971.
Imagine.
But I still remember her. But nobody remembers the doctor that treated you at the age of 6. Meaning, this teacher has a lot to do with the brain of the child, with the brain of the human being. So therefore, the parents and teachers in the primary format the citizens we have. Up to today, I cannot walk out of my house with a shirt hanging out unless it's designed so. Because I was trained I must tuck in.
Back in school.
Back in school. And so, what am I talking about therefore? That our education system, besides having a curriculum that people have been saying is useless, we were taught about Uganda. The subject called civics was teaching us about Uganda, about Africa. Today, it's not there. Now, all these, unfortunately, have been sacrificed at the altar of politics.
I see the civics now transformed into literacy.
Yes.
Of late, I see literacy 1, 2, 3, something like that.
Now, what this government did was the introduction of the Chankwanzi, the Mchaka concept. Now, Mchaka was an attempt to cover up what we had missed in learning about our country, patriotism, nationalism, Pan-Africanism. Guess what? Politicians in this country went running over the whole world. Museveni is indoctrinating young people against multipartyism, against capitalism. So in 1996, the US government put down its foot, the World Bank, stop Mchaka, or we are withdrawing aid support. We had a program running in Chankwanzi, it was stopped before it was completed. So later on,
maybe the issue was about the rifles that you give to these young people. I've seen some students there. I think it was somebody remind me the school. You know, they're teaching them AK-47. Must I learn to handle a gun so that I prove my patriotism? No, actually that is by the way. The main issue is the theory in class. Why did we introduce skills at arms? Our history. Personally, I was robbed using a car jack. I could not tell it was not a gun. My watch and my jacket went in 1983 around Aga Khan here. If I had known a gun then, I would have known this is not a gun and would have dealt with the guy because I had the strength to deal with him. He had a car jack. He had a car jack, this one which raises Land Rovers. And he succeeded to take my jacket and the watch. So, given that the gun had been used to traumatize citizens, you know, a soldier would put a gun at the door and rape your mother when you are watching. Yeah. Tell your father to clap in this republic. So we said, no, let's demystify. You are demystifying now. The gun. Okay. Today when you cook, I will tell you that gun is loaded, it has a bullet or it doesn't. And you can defend yourself. You can defend yourself. So the whole essence of, and therefore, that's why primary school children, we don't give them guns. Starts in secondary. Secondary school. Canon, you agree with that? Handling guns?
It's not an area that I'm familiar with. Okay. I would be scared to handle the gun.
Because some parents have been doubtful.
So those we admire have made their countries what they are. Were they like us? Yes, and even worse. In the United States of America, every morning, from kindergarten to high school, a child holds on the national flag and pledges loyalty to the country. What better indoctrination? Teaching them to love country. To love country first. And the history of every state, you must know it. So we have to retrain our thinking. Absolutely. Teachers, civil servants, everyone, retrain our thinking. Now, before we forget, the issue of handling public assets. You said this is my tax, the more reason you should preserve it. I heard of somebody who was not willing to take his personal car, a reconditioned one, to some of these new petrol stations that are not known. But he would only take to Shell or Total. But he was willing to take the government car to those petrol stations. Filling stations that he doesn't like. Now, that is actually an enemy of the country. You're your own enemy. Because instead of this car lasting 4 years, and in the meantime, the resources are doing other things.
Lifespan reduces.
It reduces, and therefore they have to look for another car in a shorter time. Who is the loser in the end?
All of us, we are losing.
So we need to appreciate what you want as a person.
Finally, before we go to reactions from viewers, you talked about colonialism, you know, and how it brought Uganda together.
Yes.
By force.
Yes.
Somehow, we are living. Banyankole, Baganda, or whatever. But then there is something that has to be done now from the public officers, within public offices, right? If you go to police, for example, and you're reporting a case, when they're putting that case on file, they will ask, what's your name? Where do you live? What's your tribe? That thing disturbs me a lot. And at the passport office.
You're welcome to my club.
One time I had a serious argument, by the way, at passport office. I refused to write tribe and wrote Ugandan.
Yes.
Somebody was saying, no, you didn't write Muganda. That form is erroneous.
No.
And I did not understand why until now you ask somebody what their tribe is.
My starting quarter was medical services. You have gone for treatment. Tribe is asked.
You know.
And I asked, what has it got to do with sickness? When IGP Ochola was coming for approval by Parliament, he put his tribe, his religion, and I felt a bit uncomfortable. Because we are not being appointed IGP because of your tribe or your religion.
We are profiling each other.
So I agree with you. It's a nuisance, it's nonsensical to be thinking about tribes in 21st century. Because if they were sufficient on their own, then we wouldn't need each other. Unfortunately, we are no longer sufficient on our own. Whether you are an Itesot, you need a Msoga.
True.
Because when you produce when you are selling your chicken, it is not the fellow Itesot who will buy the chicken. It will be bought by a Muganda or Musoga or an Acholi in Kampala. Similarly, the one who is producing coffee is even going abroad. In short, do we realize we are no longer self-sufficient as individual ethnic groups? And the answer is yes. Baganda were refusing to learn Kiswahili. It's a language of robbers. Rwababi. Now, when people of Kayunga started selling pineapples in Nairobi, the Kenyans were setting the prices in Kiswahili. And some of them were cheating them.
The Baganda from Nakasongo and Ruwen.
They were forced to learn Kiswahili.
Interesting.
So that's why actually the thinking that the East African Federation would be fast-tracked better through the private sector. This man-to-man interaction in commerce, in the social activities. Many Ugandans have married Kenyans, Kenyans have married Ugandans, or Tanzanians, or Rwandese. So you can no longer think in terms of tribe. I remember one MP, I'm not mentioning him here on the screen. He called me and said, "Mwana wangu mwana nzisi." I said, "Chichi. Ngena nkole kati kwanjula."
Omwana amusa.
Omwana nzisi.
Instead of appreciating now
exactly
the intermarriage
that's happening in my house
and the unity as Ugandans.
Absolutely. I am an in-law in the east. My son married from the north. That's the Uganda I'm looking at now.
And you're of a different ethnic group who
and
was born
I'm
in
from
Uganda.
the southwest, born in Uganda.
Interesting.
So, who understands Uganda better than I do? Very few.
All
but
right.
if you're hearing it from me, what does it mean? For me, I'm saying, let's start from a selfish level. To change our minds, let's be selfish first. You as Kuraije, as Reverend, as Olusimbi, what do you want? To see your country be. Then work on it.
Exactly. All right, we have about 4-5 minutes to end the show, but we will take a look at some of the messages you've sent on WhatsApp. The producer can share with us on screen so that everyone gets a chance to read for themselves. Thanks for the program and hosting Reverend Rebecca. We love Uganda because there is no place like Uganda. However, poverty in Uganda has turned out many.
Yeah, many to desire.
To desire elsewhere, okay, other than home. What do we do? The point you were putting across of people who want to migrate.
They were poor. Those who are rich were poor before us. This period of the Vandals in Europe, life was very brutal. Today in the United States, people who are living below the poverty line are 40 million. Where you're running to? I was there in winter in 2018. People are, 2019, people are sleeping on the veranda, on the roadside, in winter. Yeah. So where you are running to?
And it is very expensive to get citizenship elsewhere.
But and yet here it's natural. You are born a Ugandan, nobody has even the right to question it.
Canon, let's conclude with rediscovering our purpose, you know, because if you don't discover your purpose as an individual, even this topic of mindset change doesn't make sense. It can't make sense. Yeah?
Yeah, I think rediscovering our purpose, we just need to look back. You know, sometimes I tell people you need to know your mission and your goal. Why am I here? And what am I meant to be? And what do I want to become? You don't live aimlessly. You live with a purpose. And when you live with a purpose, you strive to achieve that purpose. And therefore, as a Ugandan, I was born in Uganda. I live to achieve a purpose in Uganda. What do I want to see Uganda look like? What do I want to become? Even when you look at poverty, yes, poverty is there, but still it's about us. Uganda has resources and has everything around us. But we've decided, we've remained poor. Just because of the many factors that we have talked about. But if every Uganda lives with a purpose and you want to make Uganda what you want it to be, I know my mission in Uganda and this is what I am set to do and to become. Uganda is going to be a place for all of us to live. Just as I told you in the beginning, that I can decide that this space is mine alone. Nobody fits in this space.
Or decide to share it with others.
I can also decide to share this space with others. And when I choose to share the space with others, it will actually be enough. When I choose to have it for myself, it will also be for myself. And that will be the sense of greed. And so that kind of mindset has to be transformed so that Ugandans can allow ourselves to share space with others, to feel for the others, to weep for what makes this nation bad and try to transform it so that we can be able to live in the Uganda that all of us want to enjoy. Uganda is a beautiful country. It is home, and we love to be in Uganda and want to make Uganda the best place for all of us.
Thank you. Mr. Teko, you have 2-3 people that we... Okay, the main problem in Uganda is politics because these people, even if they say we shall, however, arrest anyone found dumping anyhow the plastic bottles.
Kavera.
God. Kavera, it ends from there because they want votes in Uganda.
Always.
Sorry, I can't make out this message properly. Ronaldin Bundibujo, thank you for the program. Do our Christian leaders also advise our president on the killings that take place in Uganda? Pray for our president that looks much into that. Let's show patriotism by saving the lives of our friends. Traditional family setups have broken down, coupled with poor children rearing.
Child rearing, I think.
Rearing. Okay, seem to contribute to the mess now, as alluded by Reverend Cannon. Lastly, Mutebi Bashir, it is not about teaching people how to love their country. It's about doing things that make them love their country. Yes, we spoke about that. Be the example that you want to see. That's what we're saying. All right, time is against us. Brigadier General, your final remark.
This country is not going anywhere. But the beauty is dying away, killed by us.